What is up? Steadfast Baseball Podcast, Episode 1. My name is Keely, and today, on the very first episode, we have a very special guest, my brother, Coach Kia Vieira in the house.
How's it?
What is up? What is up? You know, building a team, building a business, building a good lifestyle. It's a process. It's a journey. We all have goals. There's always, bumps along the way, but you learn. And I think this podcast, my goal for this podcast is to document that, document my journey with Steadfast Baseball, my journey as a coach, my journey as a human being, as a father, and using this platform will help me better share all this information that I have obtained, and even obtaining more information from guest speakers like my brother here. But on this first episode, we're going to tackle what is winning. And I think winning means a lot of things to different people. And I've researched some stuffs about five ways to develop a winning mindset by Dion Mahaffey on Google. I Googled it. We love Google. But the first thing on developing a winning mindset shows here, says don't rely on your talent. And that's pretty interesting because initially, when you think of talent, only a few people are super duper talented, but what is your take on that? Don't rely on your talent.
Well, the first thing that I think comes to mind is don't rely on your physical talent, right? I think everybody has their own talents in terms of, mental, maybe, mental fortitude, being able to be resilient. I think there's certain talents that, is a little bit more foundational than just your physical talents. And I think that's kind of what he means in this is there's always a way to get better, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, in all facets of life, baseball wise, relationships with your teammates, relationship with your coaches, right? And I think to me, it kind of translates to just don't be satisfied, right? You're constantly trying to get better, right? I mean, even the pros out there, right, are always trying to perfect their game, trying to get better every day, and like you said in the beginning, I think, there's always going to be some bumps in the road and some challenges and some criticism that you have to deal with everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so I think just not being content with where you're at, I think that's what it translates to me. And I think a lot of players can relate to that in terms of injuries. Injuries along the way. You could be the best at one moment, and then the next moment you're not. And I think it takes a certain guy mentally to be able to fight through those things and not just depend on one thing, but really just depending on your work ethic. I think your talents will take you very far. There's some people that are blessed with really, really amazing arms or amazing body, stature type, family, all that kind of stuff. But no matter what, I think the foundation kind of comes down to whether or not you're taking it day by day and you're trying to get better every day.
And it's crazy you mentioned resilience, because I did see this one reel with Mike Tyson and even Cristiano Ronaldo. they were talking about talent. Talent gets you there. It gets you to the pros or gets you to that elite level. But what keeps you there is dedication, right? Resilience, dedication to your craft. And I think that those types of intangible things really set the tone for your own personality,
Mm.
your own self worth, or who you are as a person, as a ball player.
Mm-hmm. I and you know what? I think it's through self discovery, right? I mean, you're constantly going day by day trying to figure out, like things that you're good at, things that you're bad at. And I think honesty is really the best policy, right? We've heard it before. And I think when you're honest with yourself, you're able to really dive in and dissect the things that you really need work on. And the things that you're really, really good at, you really want to put that on the forefront of kind of what you're doing as an athlete, whether it's hitting, pitching, fielding, being a good dugout guy, being a good teammate guy. Um, and if you can really know yourself and kind of know where your talents are, and staying humble every day, and trying to figure out how you can get those kind of like, I guess, those sides of you that maybe you don't really want to look at because you're not very good at it, right? And that's kind of it. Sometimes it's that humility that you feel can really get you back on track, actually. And I really truly believe that when you're working and you're trying to figure out your craft, and you're trying to figure out your talents, um, that question to me, don't rely on your talent alone, really just translates to me is trying to perfect all facets of the game, right? There's always something to get better at, and you're always constantly, the new day brings new challenges. And I think the guy that's more open-minded, and willing to accept those things that maybe he's not that good at, is the guy that's really going to progress a lot further than the guy that's just sticking to his one and done type of deal. I think a guy that's more well rounded, is a guy that's just a little bit more successful, a guy that's more open minded to new ideas and willing to try new things. And then once he finds that thing, whether it's talking to other people, talking to other players, talking to other coaches. But I think I don't know about you, but I think I'm more attracted to the guy that's a lot more open and asking questions, rather than the guy that feels like he knows what he's doing. And there's a sense of like a level of confidence, and then kind of that like selflessness of like, hey, I'm willing to take in other opinions, I'm willing to hear, I'm willing to try, I'm willing to train. And those guys that do that, they usually find a different way of doing something that actually clicks. Like, man, I didn't, how do you hold that changeup, or how do you hold that fastball, or hey, why do you do that drill? I want to learn. And I think guys that are really, really good at anything, really, they're just willing to learn.
Yeah,
You know.
the coachability part, like just being open-minded to trying new things rather
Mm-hmm.
than, okay, I know what I like, I'm just going to stick to that. And yeah, talent, don't rely on your talent alone, to have a winning mindset. I mean, we could talk about this all day. I feel like this topic alone, um, but the next topic, build your grit. When I think of grit,
Mm-hmm.
I think of that same resilience, whether it's uh, mental or physical, um, taking on pain, physical pain, or taking on, maybe the criticisms of others, or um, perspective of how you look at yourself, um, and overcoming challenges, tough situations maybe you haven't even been in before, or maybe situations that constantly come and you're just you're continually, faced with that adversity.
Hmm.
But building grit, what would you say in your definition? What is building grit to you?
Well, I think we have to define grit, right? Like, what is grit, right? What what characteristics does a guy have that, as a coach, you would say, man, that guy's got a lot of grit, right? To me, that's a guy that's, of course, we said it, resilience, a guy that's not going to give up. You know, baseball is a tough game, mentally, physically, and I think a guy that has a lot of grit is a guy that's going to put his nose in front of the ball, but it's not for himself, right? It's for the team. It's for the guys around him. It's bigger than him. And I think a player that realizes that it's not about him, um, is willing to sacrifice more for others than just himself, right? I mean, I think in today's baseball age, right, you see a lot of guys that are just really worried about their own stats, right? We just seen a game, a JV game not too long ago, where the team was down by 8, 10 runs, and we get a guy come up and he hits a bomb solo home run, bat flip, jogging around the bases. And in my mind, I'm like, well, you're losing by about 8, 9 runs right now. You just scored the second run of the game, and it's the fifth inning, right? And I mean, maybe that was his way of trying to pump up the team, and but to me, I felt that like it was a little selfish. I think a gritty guy to me is a guy that's clean cut. He plays the game hard, and he's not playing it for himself. He's playing it for the team. He's trying to win for the boys. He's trying to pump up the guys. And so I guess maybe, I don't know. I don't understand the team dynamic that maybe they had. Um, but a guy that has a lot of grit is a guy that's going to go out for his boys every single day, whether people are watching him or whether there's nobody there, right? A guy that's going to be in the cage or in the bullpen or taking extra reps, talking to his coach, trying to get his craft really, trying to be a well-rounded player. Um, and he shows up every day ready to play. I think it takes a certain guy to come out and give 100% effort every single day. It's really, really hard to do. It kind of reminds me of like, or maybe I'm thinking of like Cal Ripken, right? The Iron Man, right? I mean, the Iron Man, what a sick name, right? But I don't think he just walked in there and he got that name,
Yeah,
right? He put in the work. He was out there every day. He was a great teammate. Legendary baseball player Cal Ripken Jr., right? And so when I think about the you're earning that name, right? And he didn't give himself that name. The others gave him that name because they recognized how hard he was working and all the work he was putting in for the guys. And I think that really just kind of shows or gives little hints about the type of grit that he had, right? I mean,
yeah.
how would you define grit? You know?
Grit, how I would define grit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I cheated. I kind of looked it up online. Um, Grit to Oxford Languages Google, it says courage, strength of character,
Mm.
and that courage, right? To to be selfless, to be that guy to lay your body on the line with 2 outs, you know, laying out for that last out. Maybe you don't get it, but that effort showed the rest of the team, showed your coaches, hey, this guy is down to give it all he got. And he mentioned Cal Ripken. I mean, I'm a Dodger guy, unfortunately, but when grit comes to mind, I think of Chase Utley. Chase Utley had a long career with the Phillies and later with the Dodgers, but he went out not every day like Cal Ripken, but you could see his stoicness, his robotic, nothing is gonna break his emotions, kind of dude hustling out every play. Um, and giving it all he got in one of the, I think it was a division series game or a championship series game. He broke up a double play. Unfortunately, he ended up breaking that. Um, I think it was Wilmer Flores' leg,
Oh
and
yeah, he slid in really hard.
yeah, and then he ended up saving a run for the team. That might be an extreme situation, but that goes to show what types of sacrifices gritty people take for the good of all. And
Mm.
um, that ties into the mindset of a winning player.
Yeah, and you kind of have you got to have a little bit of guts too. I
Yeah,
mean, to put your body on the line and to put your name on the line, right? I mean, your reputation, all that kind of stuff. Um, I don't think he's really thinking about that, right? I'm I feel like he was just thinking about trying to win, and I think that's a big thing. He put all things aside, and he was just trying to play the game as hard as he possibly could to give his team the best opportunity to win. And I bet he would do it a million times over. And I think that's more so to me, a guy that's going to be able to do that all the time, and he's willing to do that day in and day out, because his foundation is so strong on, his willingness to, have 100% effort, focused on the game, and to bring the energy, into the dugout. I bet after
yeah.
that there was other people that were willing to do the same thing. It's like, dude, if that guy,
Yeah.
and Chase Utley, we're not talking about some rookie, right? He's a
No.
silver fox.
Yeah.
He's a veteran. He's been around the block, and I really do think he did that to bring some energy to the young guys. That leadership role, where he wanted to send a message. This is how you play baseball. You know.
And these things are contagious. I mean, not relying on your talent with be an overall player with dedication and resilience, and building that grit. Those types of intangible characteristics, they're pretty contagious in the right environment, I think, if you're put into it. um, and that's good for not just yourself, but the team in general.
Right.
um, but yeah, developing a winning mindset, number two, build your grit. I think that was a good one. um, I think we'll probably break this up into two parts because we're heading into like our 18th minute. But last one, we'll step away from this 5 ways to develop winning mindset. But looking back on our experiences as ball players, I mean, we both played for the same high school. We both went on to play at junior college in California. Um, where you're at now, coaching a 12U baseball team, taking them to championships. Looking back on where you've been, 2012 OIA champion. What does that event mean to you now, as far as what winning meant? Because before you get to the answer, like when I think of my OIA championship, 2005, 2006, I forget, but it kind of doesn't really matter in the grand scale of things. Like winning that one game didn't really affect me in a way to where, like, I don't know how to explain it, but winning that game didn't really matter. What did matter was the camaraderie and the things that I picked up from the seniors or the upperclassmen in high school. And I used that throughout my journey up until now, being a coach for my son's team, like knowing what the team dynamics, what it takes to be a team and to find success. You're not gonna win all the time, but to find success, plays at first, or making contact. um but I feel like winning doesn't matter to a certain degree,
Mm.
you know. But what you take away from winning and losing is probably the most important.
Yeah, I mean, define defining win, right? Defining winning, and it depends what situation you are in, and I think, well, just thinking back on winning OIAs in 2012. um, it was a great experience, and I think it teaches you that you know with hard work and dedication and all those things. I think the thing that I really remember the most was celebrating with my friends, celebrating with my teammates, and really representing the community that we're all from. And I think being from Wamanalo and Kailua, and all these guys coming together to accomplish a goal is very meaningful. And I think those times together, just it brings out your character. It kind of exposes you to a point where you have to be vulnerable with one another, and you have to be vulnerable to the game. And winning is sweet for sure, and that taste is it's awesome.
Addictive.
It is awesome, and but it's not everything. you know I think when I think about even Sierra College and having a great season, and winning all those games with the boys, um, really, it didn't really matter too much to me, outside of the fact that I knew that we're all working really, really hard to try and accomplish this goal, and we did it. And I think it kind of gives you a hint to how much focus, effort, and energy is required to try and win a game. And I know you've been in this spot too, where you have really, really good games and you don't come out on top, and it keeps you humble. So baseball, the wins and the losses, you don't really know if you're going to win or you're going to lose, but I think it gives you a hint to life, and how if you continue to grind, you can walk off that field, whether if you're giving 100% focus, 100% energy, and 100% effort all the time, you can walk off that field being satisfied with your performance, and leaving it all on the field, right? I think we've heard that a lot, and it's not about the wins and the losses, but it's about your actions on the field and how you're treating your teammates, and also if you're respecting the game, right? I mean, you got to respect the game, and like I said, you're not going to come out on top all the time, but one thing you can control, right, is the things that you do, and the things that you say, the effort that you give. And I think as a human being, right, when you come off that field, you can feel pretty content. Like, man, I gave it all I got, and I did it with some of my best friends that I still have till today. I can still call up those guys to hang out, and we have good relationships, and those are things that I can hang on to for the rest of my life. So the wins and losses, it's whatever on the paper, it's whatever, but it's how you define win that's really gonna kind of keep you afloat mentally, I think.
Some bars right there. Some good ones.
Mm.
Yeah, nah, that's on point. Um, a winning mindset is definitely a constant work, a work in progress, because your mind is very important.
Well, it's harsh too, I mean, sometimes you work really, really hard and you don't get what you want, and you got to deal with that, the humility of losing. But also, I think on the flip side of that is, like, you can get better, right? And you never really lose unless you quit. And those losses, I think Pete Rose, rest in peace, right? Pete Rose was like, after those losses, we look back at the games and, hey, how can we prevent these things, right? How can we get better so that the next time we go out onto the battlefield with the boys, we're a lot better prepared, you know? And I think that's where you win, right? You can win through the losses. It just depends how you respond, right? And if your response is poor me, blah 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 umpire, or blah 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 somebody was yelling something, whatever the case is, that's losing. I think if you come out after a loss, you tip your cap, and back to the drawing board. There's another day ahead of you, and you're trying to get better. You got to go practice again, right, the next day. So I think those losses have really good data, right? I mean, when you lose, you kind of look back and you're like, hey, well, why did we lose? What are some things that I could have controlled a little better? How can I sharpen my skills, and that way the next time I step on the field, I'm sharp. I'm ready to go. I know what to expect, and then the journey goes on, right? And I think we talked about it earlier in the podcast, is the resiliency, right? A guy that's able to bounce back, right? I mean, wins could be even detrimental, right? I mean, you could win a few games, you could be on a hot streak, and then now there's pressure, right? Pressure to win, because now you're expected to win from others, right? And so I think a really big thing is, besides the wins and the losses, is trying to stay neutral, never too high, never too low, always trying to get better. Because I think that's where the real win is, right? The guy that continues to go out, give 100% effort, focus, and energy into trying to sharpen his skills, and not rely on just his talents, but you know his ability to come back, and the willingness to go out again, even after the loss, the humiliating loss, right? And that can be hard for a lot of people, but the best do it. The best come back from losses, and they're back on the drawing board, and they're trying to get better every day.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. This was fun. Um, Episode 1 in the books. Uh, Obviously, we can talk about anything forever. Baseball, steadfast. That's why steadfast. But hey, I want to thank you, Kia, for joining me on my first episode. Coach Kia, any shout outs? You want to give any shout outs?
um Shout out to Jesus Christ for keeping us humble and keeping us safe. And if you're a young athlete out there, and you're just starting baseball, or you're just starting sports, don't forget to have fun. It's a game, and at the end of the day, you're gonna come home, and you're gonna have to do it all again. And if you're not having fun out there, you know we need to rethink what we're doing out there, right? It's a game, and I want I the biggest thing for, I think, youth players out there is to go out there, give it your all, and try to enjoy yourself, be a good teammate. And those are the things that really, really matter. I mean, at least to me, something that I try to tell the boys on my team, is, number one, be a good teammate, because it's a team sport, right? It's, you got to rely on the guy next to you. And in life, you're going to be in a work environment, or a family environment, and the better teammate you can be, the group can move forward, and you can progress, and you can learn from other people, and just never stop learning, because there's always something to learn.
True that. True that. Episode 1, 5 ways to develop a winning mindset. We just covered the first 2 ways. Part 1 in the book. Stay tuned for part 2, where we finish up these 5 ways to a winning mindset. Follow for more. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. My Instagram is down below in the description. Check it out. Building this thing brick by brick. Steadfast Baseball. Shoots.